adjust my work so that we would,
And in a rural environment.
so we could stop at 4:30 like we promised we would. And Kristen said the opportunity of going around and listening in to all of the different conversations. Are we missing a group or it's just the two? Oh, I just haven't stood in this spot.
Sarah's just out there.
Sarah stepped up.
Oh, okay. And so what I was thinking that we could do is we've only got about 10 more minutes, and it would just be great to hear some cross-fertilization again of some of the ideas. So if each group could just share out one of your powerful ideas for what's next, how we might look at the question, what are the other of those? What do you think is next, or how we might gather evidence in response to the question? And we'll talk about one from each group, and if we have time, we'll talk about another one from each group. And then I'll ask you to go back to your own group and maybe settle on one concrete next step. You good? Would you like to go first?
Okay, so we circled around a lot of things in relation to the new curriculum and embracing change and looking realistically at things. And so looking at small steps. And so a small step would be inviting teachers who might be interested in thinking about what was the question that you posed. What have you been waiting to do that you feel you can do that the new curriculum affords opportunity for you to do? And so looking at it from that appreciative stance and then looking at what teachers are doing already. And you may have to look a little harder, but you know, really appreciating what they're doing and what they're trying to do and where they're coming from. And then just building from there and looking at, so, you know, what can the new curriculum do and how can you be supported? And perhaps it's by working with university and pre-service teachers, look at all the things that they can do for you. So starting out with a meeting in June to see if there's other teachers who might be involved. Heather plays a pivotal role because she's in the school and has a good sense of who the teachers are and how she could talk to them, you know, rather than the outsider parachuting in. And so just building on that and seeing how we could then take that the next step in the next year, once they get rid of that statement in the curriculum.
Do you want to say that statement for him, Heather?
What is that? What does it say?
It was the last, I just discovered it today.
Teachers may continue on with the course base similar to what they have done in previous years.
Yeah.
They don't need to change.
So that's what it says in that in the new curriculum draft.
The very
So-
last line.
So it's a trick. You've got to read the whole thing and get to the last line.
So it's not, you can't, it's not the get out of jail free card that that line kind of gives. So that's, I think, our plan for working with a particular school and broadening it to other teachers, but then also inviting other teachers who may be known, who are interested in that conversation. So just growing it slowly.
Bringing teachers from within the school together to talk. And what is the role of the university and the student teachers? Are they involved in that as well? Or is
Well, yes, to be thinking about how they can help innovate, how they can help, you know, with different kinds of approaches and another body, and you know, what can they do to be helpful, rather than it's another task that they have to do.
And when I was listening to this group talk, my mind immediately went to, so this is a collaborative professional inquiry that's happening, the question that Heather posed, and having a leader, whether it's a formal leader or an informal leader within the school, be able to lead an inquiry process around that. So what does it look like when you have space to do something you've always wanted to do, and then you can come back together with a team, so having pre-service students, having new teachers, having TOCs, part of that collaborative inquiry question really addresses our question, which is what happens when a bunch of teachers, educators of any kind get together and look into how we can explore the new curriculum. I think it's absolutely a fantastic way of working and modeling an inquiry process throughout the year.
Could you make sure you sign the forms before you leave and give to Sarah or to Jamie? Just at this moment.
Oh, from
Thank you.
team?
Or any questions for the UVic team if you want?
Oh,
So let's just move on to
Hmm?
the. Go ahead.
We are community. We have two distinct groups that we don't have a way to connect right now, so we have two parallel plans on the go. Do you want to talk about the middle one, guys? Yeah. Okay, I'll do the middle one. Middle, we, at the end of, because they're no longer in my core, I had them for summer and fall, but no longer have them, they're on the practical. But at the end of my course, we open up the opportunity to continue to learn together. So, I don't know, probably 25 of the 30 folks in our class want to continue to learn together during practicum. So we're thinking Team Middle, as we call ourselves, hashtag Team Middle. You can find our Twitters out there. Yeah. Danica is going to send out an email, or Danica Target send out an email to the group with Kim. What are your questions? What do you wonder? And then we're going to come together during practicum once a month. Those who want to come together based on trends that come up. And then we're going to invite folks like Kim, whose classrooms we go to, but don't have a regular way to not just meet with us, but because we span 5 school districts and about kind of a 5-hour geographic distance, everybody can come together for that once a month, including those colleagues. And we'll be sharing what we're doing when we're trying. And we thought that would kind of honor what we've already kind of got rolling, but it would connect us. The Team Middle group's already community, the teacher candidates, but it's going to connect in the folks who we visit in their classrooms to be part of our community. Did I capture that ish?
Mm-hmm. Questions? Were you doing another one, or were you just doing that?
We're sharing one powerful idea.
Even though they had 2.
So the one I've already sort of begun to put into action, and I'm hoping that after this conversation, maybe someone Karen will help me to make it more powerful, but already invited a variety of teachers, principals, and faculty members who are interested in this idea, Institute Interdisciplinary Teacher Education, to come together for an afternoon. And because I've been experimenting with it in so many different ways in the last few years, bring those people together and to talk about their experiences and make some recommendations and plans for the fall. So I can really start powerfully in September with some of the relationships and how that might work. So that's our next step. There might be kind of some similar structures to this, but bringing all of those people together from different perspectives and starting now to plan for next year, so that we're not just trying to scramble and happen.
One of the things that struck me in our group and then across the other groups is encouraging, to what Jamie said, encouraging people to take risks when there isn't really an incentive to take a risk, except the schools aren't working as they should. So acknowledging that they're not working, therefore I've got to take a risk to actually realize, and what Jamie said at the end is, if you actually do it this way, you're going to re-energize yourself. You're going to have a more fulfilling career and get people to believe that, rather than as if they're doing it for someone else as a favor. It's actually back to why you want to be a teacher, back to that original passion that made you take up that role, which everybody has. No one wants to be a bad teacher, but we sort of systematically erode it a bit in the systems we set up. So I do believe that the collaborative nature of getting people together to spark it'll start to happen.
Well, that's what I think is so powerful about that. I mean, our survey's criteria for choosing the teachers who would work in this mentorship way with our students was that they had that energy and passion and learning mindset. And when the job action was on, and we invited as many of them as were interested to just come to class on campus, and each one just stood up and spoke for a moment or two about what they were passionate about, what they were doing as a learner in their practice, and then broke out into who wants to go talk some more with that person or that person or that person. And so for the student teachers to see that passion and energy that was just radiating off of these dozen teachers who came from all different points in their career really helps them to see that trajectory, I think.
That would be a really neat question to ask teachers generally. What are you passionate about? and see if that sparks things, because sometimes it's not that easy to see when you're in their classroom. And it probably isn't that easy for students to see either, sitting in their classroom, what it is that they're passionate about. They still remember. Others, it's really easy to see because, you know, they're
Doing it.
doing things all the time.
You guys have a second
Good question.
plan or idea that you to throw out there?
Well, we talked, I think, just about having, maybe trying to have an event where we invite people in, but also maybe, so finding time to visit other locations. So going up island, maybe moving out of the district.
We're gonna go from Cowichan to Comox to Campbell River and visit all those interesting places that, you know, I mean, it is nice to get out of the district and out of the school into other
So-
places.
Yeah, we talked a lot about like the ethos of the district and kind of the insular nature of the district, and how do we like break out of that, and then like if you can encourage that with this group, then that kind of maybe it leads into your school. So then how do people break out of the ethos of the insular nature of just in the classroom? Or this is my practice, and then let's go encourage teachers to go visit other teachers' classrooms and learn from one another. Those kind of things, and I think it starts in this kind of model.
One of the things really cool about those kind of road trips is the amount that you learn when you're in the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the conversations.
Yeah.
It's so
On the
Who doesn't
ferry.
love a
huh?
road trip?
We're all here.
Yeah, informal learning.
Yeah, it's always fun, so.
So one thing we haven't shared, but Kathy and I are both involved in and Sarah, electronic portfolios, and we've been doing it for 10 years at UVic, and we're now got a very stable system and working with Jan in the ministry about helping her with that rollout. So we should connect on that, because ePortfolio is going to be at the core of any curriculum innovation for the diversity that we're after. And it's how to make a technology system that works for the teacher and works for the students and isn't seen as a glorified CV, but actually a way of learning that isn't, we don't do it systematically enough. So that's out there as well, but that's already going on, but there's this infrastructure there to help or assist. If you want to get an ePortfolio, I can actually set you up with one straight away, but it's actually, you know, building that process.
Can I add another idea from ours? I think it's really important somehow to capture the story or the narrative and capture the kids' voices and the teachers' voices. Because for me anyways, you can talk about all sorts of abstract ideas, right? And even in terms of new curriculum, when you can show parents what you're doing
Right.
and then they see the fruit, they don't just think, oh, the kid just had they're happy because they're not really doing anything, right? That's a frequent comment I hear. So anyways, with this, I'm remembering back one young man who would never talk, Colfolk, and who, when Leighton would bring his students, he was waiting for the day when this big buddy came. Because the big buddy made him feel really important, and school has not ever been a place where he felt very happy or welcome, and he got more out of that than I think he did from my relationship with him, which is really interesting. So I want to capture some of that before it's too long a distance and Cole doesn't remember, and I still think he could tell that story. So I think even like a little documentary about that, because then you can share it with other people who ask you, right? Like, well, what's the point of this, or how does this change things? And I think of lots of teacher inquiry. I was involved in with Sharon Jarosky, like, as a new teacher in the 1990s, and we didn't document any of it.
Right.
And I remember it. I could tell you the story, but none of it was documented. And that's a shame, because it was very powerful what was going on then. So.
I think that's a really key point, and that's one of the things that we are setting out to do, is actually have documentation that is accessible to a wide array of people. So it isn't just writing reports or papers or whatnot. It's actually using video documentation and like kids' voices and
Or even
teachers'
a
voices.
blog, if we had a blog
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
this, that people could be uploading, here's examples, here's what we're doing, and ongoing. Because we have one for our school now, and it is helpful. It's a nice repository of stuff.
And just the power of a 30-second or 1-minute video is amazing.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be a highly overproduced
No, it doesn't.
documentary, but these are pieces of
Mhm.
capture the voices of
we'll get a blog.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Patrick, which
Yeah,
one.
there you go.
We'll get the BC blog, so you don't have to worry about VoIP either.
Oh, good. I'll be up all night worrying about that. I should be, but I'm not.
Yeah, well, she has.
One of the things we talked about was restructuring of the mentorship time also. I was asking that I would have loved to have my mentors there the very first week of school, because I think it's a time that they miss. It's a time when I need support in my classroom, and a time that's so critical to building community, which is, and they need to be a part of that. Because they saw it 2 weeks later, and they could kind of still see it, but not as much as it was the first week.
So really seeking ways to make more space and time, some simple fixes. Then we had a lot of conversations like big changes we wanted to make to that, some concrete, small actions too. So that takes us to 4:30, how many times can we ready to go? So I think that something else we want to do as a, I don't know, platform, maybe just, well, obviously what's really important to me is that we thank you very much for bringing your thoughtful energy, your passion, your enthusiasm to the conversation through these learning partnerships, and I think this is a room full of some pretty energetic learners, and it's exciting when we bring all those ideas together. This is really only the very beginning, so please continue to share your thoughts with us and collaborate with us and connect with us, and we're just going to get on a roll.
I think that's really key, that we're beginning a process. We're asking a big question and hoping that you'll all be interested in being in conversation, I mean, like in person and online and on the phone and in your schools, in conversation around that question, because you're all doing stuff and you're all making sense of this in your roles and in the ways that you do and with the people in your school communities. And so that sense making is really what we're doing here. We're coming together to sense make together. And I think Kathy or someone said earlier, you can't make change by yourself. So I guess we're asking you to come along in this learning journey, because we're figuring it out as we go, and we really hope you'll continue to figure it out with us, because that's how we do it, only together.
And bring more people along. So the next time we have this conversation, there might be some new faces in the room as well who you have inspired to, be part of a conversation, or to, you've all got your kind of go-to people. So, you know to talk to Leighton, you know to talk to Paige and myself and Kristen at all times with good ideas, right? So how about if we do this? How can we move this forward? This isn't just something we're directing, I think, and that's really important to know, that this is a collaborative venture and we need all the voices. And what really struck me today was how important every single voice was in the room, regardless of your background experiences or what role you're playing in this. It's really important to have all these voices. What is missing, I think, are the kids. Well, we might want to think about trying to bring in a few students next time to hear from their perspective as well. And hopefully we can do this again in a few months and see where people are going after you've met in your own hubs and in your own communities.
Well, thanks for your time and energy, and Kathy, really thank you for providing for us organizationally with the, Kathy did the bulk of the work in terms of food and photocopy and that kind of thing, so we owe you now, it's our job next time. So thank you for that. And
Take
for,
anything else that you want to, and
capturing things for us too.
enjoy your evening.
Yeah.
Some of you will be at meetings tomorrow, some of you will be
Back
back
to work.
in your own hometown.
And kind of it just occurred to me that another really big thing happened not very far away from us today. There was a really big conversation. When I say big, I mean it's kind of like high-profile conversation that was happening publicly and online. And it was really
Across
the
the
ministry, across the street at the Ross Center for Dialogue. It was really the ministry, the BCTF, the BCSSA, and really all the, I don't want to go down the list because I'll forget a list. I'll forget one, but it was really working together on how do we make change, and so they brought in big speakers from all over the globe. And I think what's interesting to me is there's that sort of high-profile conversation, which is the system-based conversation, saying that we have an intention to do this, and then in the same day, at the same time, we have the educators getting together going, we have an intention, and let's really sort of dig our teeth into this today. So I kind of like the fact that those two conversations were happening at the very same time. Everything's flowing in the same direction, and I think someone said earlier, you need everything flowing in the same directions. You need the big system structures and designs and policies to be supportive of what it is you're all doing in your classrooms, and we are getting there slowly as a system, so it's encouraging.
Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.